Okay guys, welcome back to this Porsche 997 engine teardown, and today we're going to be removing the cylinder heads. I'm going to be showing you how to do that. We've still got a few things to remove, but nothing's hard now. It's on the engine stand. It all goes very, very quickly. Obviously, we still got to remove the sump, the oil filter, but all that can come last because it's all connected to the blocks anyway, so it just comes at the end of it all, so I'm not really worried about that, but I want to get this first cylinder head off. This is the one where the scoring usually happens, which is 4 to 6. So this is one we're going to remove first so we get to see what's actually happening down here. I've already took off the pulley as well. So the pulley's already off on this as well, so we don't need it on anymore because I've locked it in where it needs to be. So now it's just literally to go ahead and just remove the cylinder heads and get them all off. So we're going to go ahead and just crack these loose. These are the Variocam solenoids. These are all Torx 30s, and they're held down with this cover. This cover pushes the solenoids down. You've got the other one here. They're all for the Variocam system. So we'll just take them out. And then these don't usually go wrong. And you know, some people say they go wrong and a lot of people replace them. But you got to factor in, these are very, very expensive. These are not cheap, they're about £300 each. You can see there's a gasket around them as well, which comes in a new gasket kit to replace them. So what we're gonna go ahead and do is try and remove these. If they don't come out now with a pair of pliers, we can take them off once we get the valve cover off because they're a lot easier to get off, but we'll have to take off these gaskets anyway first because they will not come off with the valve cover and the valve cover won't come off without them. So we're gonna have to take them out. So what I'm just gonna do is I'm just gonna use a flathead screwdriver to prise up on it. They can be a bit stiff from being down. This one's been leaking, as you can see. There's all oil here. And look at that, that one come out very, very easy. It is gonna be covered in oil. You can see there, so do put it somewhere safe that it don't leak because it will carry on leaking for quite a while. As you'll see, there is a lot of corrosion on these, which is to be expected, but they will come up in the end just like that. That's the other one out. So next thing we're gonna go ahead and do is remove all the spark plugs. They're a 16mm socket, so you're just gonna wanna take them out. So we'll just take out the spark plugs, and this will give us exactly what we need to see regarding the bore score. We'll just remove them. These will tell all, these will tell all. And I've started with bank 4 to 6 for this specific reason, because I'm as curious as everyone else to see how bad these bores are. Then we'll just use a magnet to pull out the spark plugs when they can come out. Just like that. That one's covered in like oil, so that ain't good. That one's very bad, as you see. So that's cylinders, we got here, that's cylinder 6, and this is cylinder 4. Just unloosen cylinder 4 so we can see what this one says. Yep, and that one as well, very bad. So my assumptions are correct. It's gonna be these two that are gonna be the worst out of the lot of them. I can tell you now the other spark plugs ain't gonna be as bad as these two. Just gonna take off this ground strap here as well. And we'll leave it on the bench with the bolt so we don't lose the bolt. Because there's quite a few of these same bolts everywhere for the power steering and for everywhere else, 10mm, so we don't want to mix them up, so we'll keep that with the ground strap. Now we're going to go ahead and remove all the bolts around the valve cover, so they're 8mm, so we're just going to take them all out. So we'll just take them all out. So what we're gonna go ahead and do now is try and pry the valve cover off. There is a load of pry areas to pry, as you see there, and it's now lifted up. So what we're gonna go ahead and do is try and just lift it. Obviously oil's gonna go everywhere as we do that. I expect it to. See, it's never been removed. You can see there, that's the valve cover off. So as you can see here, we've now got the valve cover off and it's all opened up. And as you can see, this is the cams. This is all like deja vu again from doing mine. You can see here, you've got your camshafts, both of them, your exhaust and your intake. You've also got the camshaft ledges, which these are machined to match to the actual cover itself, so do not mix them up. They are numbered, and you'll probably be able to see there's a number around here somewhere on the valve cover. I think it's down here where this black piece is. There's a number underneath here, which is machined to all these, and it matches the same numbers. Do not mix them up, leave them all with the same valve cover. When you sit them on a bench or somewhere else, don't get them mixed up. We've got to get that all out, disconnect all the tensioners, disconnect all this chain guide rail, so then that way we can take out the lifter cradle, so then that way we can get to all the cylinder head bolts underneath. So I'm just gonna whiz these off. These come off very easy. As you know, they're always lubricated in oil, so there shouldn't be an issue. And what will happen is the cams will lift up. So now what we're gonna go ahead and do is disconnect all the exhaust sprocket bolts. So you'll see here, I'm just gonna disconnect them all. Just like that. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Just right there. Okay guys, so we're gonna disconnect this bolt right here. This connects the vario cam to the actual camshaft. So we're gonna disconnect that, so then that way we can put a new bolt in, because these bolts are not reusable. These are torque to yield and have a very, very high torque on them. So it's 37 foot-pounds and 110 degrees on them. So they can no longer be used because they're stretch bolts. Got to take that out. These are common for backing out as well. So we're going to be replacing them regardless. I'm going to take that out as well. So then that way the vario cam system can come away from the camshaft. I'm just going to take out all these bolts here and take out all these ledges. They can be a bit hard to get out where they're seized down. You can just lift them up quite easily. So now all of them ledges are now removed. Now what we're going to go ahead and do is start disconnecting the chain tensioner, so the chain guide falls back. So then that way we can remove this sprocket as well. So the chain guide bolts are right here. I like to use a T40. And I already cracked them loose just to make them easy before I did it. And you'll probably see all the O-rings will be deteriorated and perished as we do that. They do just come out quite easy, just like that. So now what we're gonna go ahead and do is remove the chain tensioner, which I'll show you how to do that. So the chain tensioner is located right here. We have to remove this bracket. This has to come off anyway for the machine shop, or they'll take it off, whatever the case. That has to come off because it's in the way of the chain tensioner. So we'll just use our Torx 30 and break that free. Just like that. Same thing again. This is the adapter for the aircon, where the aircon sits on. Now for the chain tensioner, it just goes in there. It's an Allen key, so it's a 14mm Allen key. And you just want to take it off, just like that. And it will spring out, and we'll test them as when they come out, because these can go bad as well. So we'll just test it, and it's holding its strength, so that's fine. So that can be reused. Obviously the O-ring cannot be, which is a crush ring. They come with new ones of them to do, make sure to replace them. So now that's removed, what we're gonna go ahead and do is hit this bolt to be able to remove it. Just like that. And now it's the bolt released, so we'll take that bolt out. Right here, you see how long it is. You see how long that bolt is, and these are stretch bolts, so they have to be replaced. And you can see all the oil leaking out as well. You can see there, the sprocket's gonna come off from the chain itself. Just gonna put this to one side, because as you can see, that's the camshaft out, and underneath here, there is ring grooves that you have to be careful with. You can probably see them. These are for the oil flow, for the VarioCam system, and you have to be careful because they can break very, very easily. So do be careful of the rings that sit in the grooves right here. You can get them, but obviously you don't want to be paying out for something you don't need to, so be careful of the rings that sit around there. Now what we'll do is we'll just take out the VarioCam sprocket, and they are marked cylinders 4 to 6 or whatever it is, 1 to 3. That's the exhaust sprocket off. Now we'll just leave the chain down here. These are the guides, which are connected down here, which will remove the other tensioner bolts, take out the tensioners. You see me down there, I'm just gonna remove it. Guide rail, right there. They can go in the bin. Now you've got the other one located just down here, which we'll just take out as well. Take that one out as well. See it right here, coming out. And this one is in very, very bad condition. You can see there already, this one's in bad condition. It's a good thing we are replacing it. This one's had it already. So now we've got one more valve cover bolt that sits down here. You'll probably be able to see where my finger is. It's sitting literally down here. And you have to be careful with this one because this one can drop down. And obviously, as I said to you before, it's not a problem now because you'll get it. But it will be a problem when building it back up if you drop it down there. You can see it right there. Now, as you can see here, we've now got access to the lift tray, and as you can see here, you really can't get them mixed up. As I've said before, one side is the intake, one side is the exhaust. You can see the intake side, that's the exhaust. You cannot get them mixed up at all. Obviously, a lot of people like to keep them with the original same cylinder head. So for instance, they'll keep all these hydraulic lifters with this cylinder head to know they go back and what position they go back in, but it really doesn't matter. It really does not. You can put them back in whatever cylinder head and it's not going to cause any issues. Basically, if your lifter is already knackered, it's already going to be knackered. It doesn't matter what cylinder head you move it to. So to remove them, you just, very simple like that. Just grab them all out, all like this. As you can see, all the exhaust ones coming out. Then you've got your intake ones, just take out. You can't get them mixed up because the intake side's got grooves, and that's them all out. So you'll see on the lifter cradle, it's 8mm bolts all round, so we're just gonna remove them, just like that. And these ain't torqued up very much either. Just take them all out. You can see here, we're trying to get it up, but you can see the bolts are still holding. So we'll just disconnect them a bit more till they all come out. And we can take the lifter cradle out, just like that. So we're gonna go ahead and just pop them all off with the big impact gun. Remember, these bolts are non-reusable, but you need to keep them for the crankcase carrier when you put it back in to hold the crankcase carrier in position. Obviously, you don't tighten them up this way for the new ones. And if you're happy they're all untightened, then what you do is just take them all out. You don't need to keep these slot. You can keep the ones when you remove them from the next cylinder head, but just keep 4, just for when you put the crankcase carrier back together. You need it for the case to hold in there, otherwise you won't be able to bolt it all up. We'll just take it off. Now we're gonna let it drain. Let's see the state of the cylinder head. As you would expect, badly coked up. Them valves need lapping, cleaning, and all cleaning up. So as you can see, we've now removed the cylinder head off the engine, and you can probably see already the scoring marks all in the cylinder walls itself. This is cylinder 6 right here, and this is always the worst one right here. You can actually see it all scored. You can see this one doesn't have any score marks around it, which is cylinder 5. This one doesn't usually get any kind of score marks. It feels really good inside there. Number 4, 100% will be scored. And you know, I was actually told that all the cylinders were actually scored when they were checked, but that's just simply not the case, because I went ahead and removed the other cylinder head on bank 1 to 3. So I'll just flip the engine over to show you. And you can see on bank 1 and 3, there isn't no scoring at all around the cylinder walls. And I I'm pretty sure this one ain't gonna have no scoring either, even though the piston's at top dead center. And that's purely because, as I said to many of you guys before, these don't usually score on all cylinders. Basically, they usually only score on cylinders 4 and 6. Worst case, you're gonna lose 3 cylinder walls and 3 pistons. But I have not seen them personally where they score on all the cylinders. Now, I'm not saying it don't happen, it can happen, but I was told that this engine was scored on all cylinders because it was checked previously and apparently all the cylinders were scored, but that's just simply not the case. These cylinder walls are not scored at all. They've got no score marks in them from what I can see. There's no scoring in any of them. So that goes to show you that whoever done the diagnosis was completely wrong, because none of these are warm, because this side doesn't usually wear, because this one doesn't have a problem where it gets too hot. It's usually bank 4 to 6. That side gets a lot hotter than 1 and 3. So these don't usually score on this side. It's always that side. But as you know, it's always best to replace all the liners in the engine, because at the end of the day, if you replace just 3 and it happens again, you're gonna be back down here. Not to say it will happen, because as you see, it doesn't happen on cylinders 1 to 3, but it can happen, and you don't want to be stripping this down all over again to redo what you've already done. So it makes sense to replace all of them in one go. But as I said, this goes to show you, don't trust what everyone says, because a lot of people misdiagnose these cars purely because they're just in a rush to get it done, or some of them don't even check it. They'll just tell you what you want to hear. Yep, it's scored on all cylinders, to get you out the garage and just take your money, because pure fact is, these don't score on all the cylinders, as you can see here. And this engine was a prime example of that, because this was misdiagnosed saying it was scored on all the cylinder walls, which it just isn't the case. This is cylinder 1 to 3, and you can see here, so you got 1, 2 and 3. So 2 and 3 are completely fine. So I'm taking it number 1's gonna be fine as well. So it's just impossible for them all to score. And like I said, don't take anyone's word as gospel. What I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna leave this video here, and on the next video, you're gonna be seeing me remove the whole sump. We're gonna take the sump apart, because obviously we need to remove that to be able to split the case, because there's bolts inside the sump that hold the case together. Then we're gonna split this case, and then you'll be able to see a lot more than what I've shown you on this video. But you can see all the cylinder heads are off now. Like I said, cylinder 1 to 3 is exactly the same as 4 and 6. Just the chain guides are gonna be in different locations for the chain guide bolts. They'll be in different locations. One sits where the gearbox bell housing is, and another one sits right here on the block, so you can't really get it mixed up. We've obviously got to remove the case, the long case bolts as well. Once we do that, we'll be able to split the case, and then you guys will get to see everything else, the pistons, and obviously the bore scoring as well, which I know many of you are going to be interested in seeing, because you guys are all interested in seeing how bad these cars can actually get when scoring actually happens. So thank you very much for watching, guys. It's BMW Dr. Dean here, and goodbye.